couple of times. We've engaged several other former heads of state to engage the government and come to a conclusion that every time we came to some form of understanding, the government at some point gets to change their minds. You may also wish to know that at some point we engaged one former head of state to go and engage the government of the Republic of Zambia. He got on a jet and he was denied landing rights in Zambia, and that was for purposes of mediation between the family and the government. We are not getting any joy from the government so far, and what happened last week, you may have noted, the period of national mourning was cut short, and the president did say that the country needs to get back to normalcy. They have failed to get back to normalcy, it appears so, and taken out an action in the Pretoria court. But this is an opportunity for us to tell a story, a great story of President Edgar Lungu, how that he lived as a president, served the nation as a president, and thereafter he was a person that was betrayed by the system, cast aside by the system, and now in his death they wish to come back and pretend as though they took care of him, pretend as though they were good to him, pretend as though he mattered to them, when in fact he never did. But the family has been consistent. He mattered to the family when he was president, he matters to the family now. And taking him back home, it so appears, will not give him a dignified burial. And the family only wants to give him a dignified burial, not one that's shrouded in mockery, that's shrouded in PR, that's shrouded in giving the international community a perception that he was properly treated, when in fact not. Decency requires that the government should come across and say, we are sorry we never treated him well. We are sorry we did wrong to him. Now that he's dead, how can we make amends? No one spoke for Edgar Lungu when he was alive. And now people want to pretend to speak for him when they were never there for him in his lifetime. And this time around, perhaps President Edgar Lungu has refused to go down to the soil without the truth being told. And now onwards, until his burial, the truth of Edgar Lungu shall be told, and we shall tell it in a very systematic way. In court, we shall tell the full story of Edgar Lungu. How he came into South Africa as a private citizen, how that the protocols that he was entitled to, or the entitlements of being given, being accorded to the embassy to treat him in this country, our Zambian embassy, how that he never got anything from them, how that he came on a commercial flight, flying economy, go to this place, walk through security clearance, walked through immigration like a normal person, waited for an Uber outside the airport. Is that the life of a former president? Certainly not. And this should not be, his death should not be used as a PR stunt by the government of the Republic of Zambia. That story we shall tell in court, and evidence shall be brought before the court that will exonerate President Edgar Lungu and his family.
So, Crisalda Lewis from SABC Television News. Are you surprised that this court action came just hours before you were scheduled to have a funeral service that was taking place? And what has been the reaction from the people of Zambia? I guess some of them would have wanted to be part of a send-off that would involve the former head of state. He is not an ordinary person, as you've indicated.
You know, we look at it differently. We've not been inconvenienced. President Edgar Lungu has refused to go down to the ground without the truth being told. And the government has given us an opportunity by taking the matter to the Pretoria court to tell the story. This is an opportunity that we shall take with both hands, and we shall use this opportunity to the maximum to tell the story of Edgar Lungu. That's what we shall do.
Does that mean then that you are continuing to bid for him to stay in South Africa and have a private funeral?
It is an opportunity to tell the story. And if it calls for us to bury in South Africa for the story to be told, so be it. But the story must be told. Edgar Lungu must be exonerated in his death. Someone needs to speak for him. Those that never spoke for him in his lifetime, this is an opportunity to speak for him, even in his death. Let's not cower. Let's not fear the present regime. Let's not be afraid. Let's stand up for what Edgar Lungu should have stood for, what he stood for, and what he should have continued standing for. That's what
BBC News. Just a quick one, sir. The fact that the former president was not in exile, and yet the family would prefer for him to be buried in South Africa. What is the public sentiment like in Zambia currently? Because this is bizarre. Wouldn't you agree?
It's extremely bizarre, but if you get to know where the crux of the matter, you will understand. There's a public sentiment which is divided. There's a propaganda machinery that has been put in place by the government to paint him black even in his death, to continue persecuting him even in his death. But those who love him would rather he be given a dignified send-off. President Hakainde Hichilema is incapable of giving President Edgar Lungu a dignified send-off. It will be a mockery. It will be a mockery. The insistence of him having to body view. As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, today a strange question came from the judge to say, suppose the president wanted to view the body, would that be acceptable? And obviously the answer is no. Only the family will have access between now and the time that the matter is determined. Nobody will have access to the body but the family. In all this is an opportunity for us to unite together. President Edgar Lungu is calling for something. He's calling for national unity, even in his death. He's fighting for national unity, even in his death. And he's fighting that people should not be persecuted for doing what is right. He's fighting that the opposition should come together, even in his death. His death is going to unite all of us as a country to fight oppressive regimes, to fight laws that are not fostering the freedoms of the Zambians. It is an opportunity for us to reflect on what kind of country do we want to build. Out of this death, in the next 60 days, or indeed from between now and the time the judgment is given, we need to be having these frank conversations. What kind of country do we want to build for ourselves? Do we want a country where a former president will refuse to be buried in his own country? Do we want a kind of country where a president will say that person should not attend my funeral? Certainly not. These are the conversations that we want to be having.
What is it that calls for this insistence of the current president wanting to view the body? What is the matter there? Why is the family not wanting him to do so?
Very well.
Is it because the belief is that HH thinks that Edgar Lungu is still alive? What's the story?
I can't speculate. I can't even think on behalf of President Edgar Lungu, or rather President Hakainde Hichilema. But I can speak for the family, only to the extent that if you never treated him well in his lifetime, why should you pretend to be kind to him in his death? Why should you pretend to be more concerned about his life in his death? Why do you want to send a private jet to pick him up in a dead state when you failed to bring him into the country for treatment? You may wish to know that in 2023, President Edgar Lungu sought to come for his medicals in South Africa. And what happened then? The president refused to grant him access to his medicals. He said, there are no funds to fund this your treatment. President Edgar Lungu said, I will pay my own fees. But the state went ahead without reason and said, your request has been denied. At that time, he was still enjoying the privileges of the former president. A month later, all those privileges were taken away. Now, should we pick and choose what should apply to a former president when you've taken away all the privileges? I thought all means all. All does not mean only after death will you have what you are entitled to. Why are they picking and choosing what is entitled to? Perhaps those are serious conversations that we must continue having for purposes of national building. And let's not demonize the family. Let's hear the heart of the family. Let's feel the pain of the family. Let's sympathize with them, empathize with them, and see to it that they have a dignified send-off. And a dignified send-off cannot be had under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema. Like we said, someday, President Edgar Lungu will be buried in Zambia with the dignity that he deserves. But certainly not under President Hakainde Hichilema.
So is it because of HH that's why a lot of Zambians can't have access to actually see the late president?
Well, they have the way to have access here, but the state has seen to it that it stopped. The state has seen to it that it stopped. But this we embrace as an opportunity to tell the story. And we shall tell that story.
Perhaps what's the message then to all the Zambians?
All the Zambians must use this opportunity to be brothers keepers. Those that never spoke for him in his lifetime, speak for him now. See this for what it is. The propaganda machinery of the government has been turned against the Lungu family. Are you going to stand up and speak for them? Are you going to be counted as those that oppress the family of President Edgar Lungu, even in his death? Perhaps not. Let's make a wise decision and stand up for the family and speak for them.
Many would argue, though, about the political rivalry between Mr. Lungu and, of course, HH regarding what happened when Mr. Lungu was president, the detention of the current president, and also Mr. Lungu not allowing or barring HH to attend the funeral of the former president, Banda. What would you say to that?
I do not wish to replace my opinion for that of the family. I speak for the family, and I will not give my opinion over that incident. If I had to give my opinion over that incident, it would take us the whole day.
But according to the information you
I'm
have,
not.
During the burial of former President Kenneth Kaunda, we saw the same thing happening. The former late president taking the family to the court. What's different now? Because what he wanted is also the same thing
Now,
that the Zambians
that I can respond to. See, President Kenneth Kaunda enjoyed all the benefits of the state. He enjoyed all the benefits of the state. President Edgar Lungu, all the benefits of the states were taken away. It was not on salary, not on medical insurance, no accommodation, no security, nothing, zero. President Kenneth Kaunda had all those. The difference is quite distinct.
So is the family riding the private, not allowing the Zambians to see the funeral of the former president over private?
I don't know what you mean by the Zambians. All these are Zambians in here.
But we're talking about those that are back home.
Yes,
The majority of those that are in home.
The Zambians' interests over private interests.
Well, if you would like to know, the time we were to repatriate a body, the government said no one should come. You shall see it on TV. That's what the government said. They said everybody was going to see it on TV. They even stopped the Zambians from seeing or witnessing the coming of Edgar Lungu. Perhaps it's their turn now to see it on TV, and they will see it on TV.
But what's to happen, though, with Mama Esther Lungu? Because she was meant to be in court yesterday.